Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we are diving into an essential but often misunderstood part of the aviation industry, the so-called ACMI wet leasing. We'll look at how this model works, why it is crucial for airlines, and most importantly, how it teaches us about the power of resilience and learning from our mistakes in business. So let's get into it. So, what is ACMI wet leasing? First things first, let's break down exactly what ACMI wet leasing means. If you are new to the aviation industry, this might sound a bit technical, but don't worry, I'll make it simple for you. In the world of aviation, ACMI stands for Aircraft, Crew, Maintenance and Insurance, so ACMI. It's a type of leasing where an airline or operator provides a fully equipped aircraft together with the crew, maintenance and insurance to another airline. The lessee, so the customer, who is often another airline, pays for the use of the aircraft but doesn't own it. The lessor, so who is providing the aircraft, handles the operational details like providing the crew and taking care about all the maintenance. Why would anyone do this? ACMI leasing allows airlines to expand their fleet without having to buy or to lease new airplanes on a dry lease basis. It helps them scale quickly to meet demand or handle peak seasons without committing to long-term asset ownership. So that gives you a high flexibility. So you can, for example, take an aircraft only for the peak season, for the summer season, because the market in Europe, for example, is more or less a seasonal market. So the European summer season, which is starting usually from April, let's say mid of April until end of October, that's the European peak season. So you all know that that's the season where most of the people start to travel around and planning their vacation, and all the school holidays and families are traveling. Also a lot of ethnical traffic flying home, visiting relatives. So that's the period where most of the airlines need additional capacity to meet demand. So, for example, they have their own fleet, which is more or less enough to operate their own schedule and their own planned flights. But in order to meet increased demand during the peak season, they need additional capacity to operate additional flights. And then they go back to ACMI wet leasing when they can wet lease in the additional needed capacity for a certain period of time. ACMI wet leasing contracts are always fixed with minimum guaranteed block hours. So that's 90% of the contracts. I've seen also contracts which are power by the hour, but definitely it's not a business model for the peak season. That we can discuss for winter, for low season, but not for the summer season. Nobody will give you an airplane just on power by the hour, and that's a no-go. So you pay for minimum guaranteed block hours. Let's say typical ACMI contracts for the peak season are around 2,000 block hours, between 1,800 and 2,200 minimum guaranteed block hours for the peak season. So that means for 6 months, that's minimum 300, 350 block hours per month, which is a pretty good utilization. And for this utilization, all depending again on the schedule, the lessor will provide, let's say, 5 crew sets to the lessee, to the customer. And that gives again the high flexibility, because let's say we have an Airbus 320 or 737-800. The crew consists of 2 cockpits. You have 4 in the cabin. And then you have maintenance staff, let's say two maintenance staff, 1, 2, 3. Depends on all if you're outsourcing it or if you're doing it yourself. If you have your own Part 1 to 45 for the maintenance. So if you have 5 crew sets, that means 5 times 6 plus the end. Let's say 35 people is you need to hire only to operate one additional airplane. So that is not needed, of course, when you have the ACMI wet lease. So you lease in the aircraft together with the crew. There's also an option to go for a dump lease, which means that the operator, the lessor, provides only the cockpit crew and the maintenance crew, and the purser, of course, and the lessee, the customer, will provide its own cabin crew. that is a very popular model when we are, for example, when some airlines operators are taking in additional capacity to meet demand for ethnical traffic. We had customers in the past, for example, in Kosovo, in Pristina, where it is always good to have a local crew on board. It helps language-wise, of course. Also Far East, Middle East, for example, if you have a customer in the Middle East or Asia, they prefer to have their local crew on board. Not only because of the language, also because they know the passengers, they know the behavior, they know how to take care about their passengers because they have the experience. You know, every country has its different style of work. So I mean, German carriers, for example, or German cabin service is one type. Then we have every country has its own, and every operator has its own model and own politics in dealing with cabin service and passengers. Yeah, that's for the options of ACMI and dump lease. I think it's pretty straight and everyone can understand it. So now let's discuss why ACMI leasing is important in aviation. As I said before, it plays a crucial role in the aviation industry, especially not only during the peak season, also during periods of growth or disruption. For example, late delivery. That is also a scenario which we can see quite often. An airline is expecting an aircraft to be delivered, let's say, just before the peak season in February, March, to prepare it for the peak season, to get it ready, to crew it. And then the lessor, the leasing company, or the bank, or whoever, or the Boeing or Airbus says, sorry guys, we need 6 months more. We cannot deliver now. We can deliver after 6 months, 1 year. You see it with for example, the problems with the 737 MAX 8. When they were grounded, there was a really very high demand of additional capacity because, for example, in Europe, there were a lot of operators affected with the 737-8 MAX, which was grounded then. And they had planned all the summer schedule with the airplanes, and now just overnight they were in need for, let's say, 5, 6, 10 additional airplanes. So for example, TUI Group, Smart Wings, just to name a few. So so then you are in deep shit. And that's one of the examples when we have no other way than to take an ACMI in. So it is not only for seasonal demand, as I told you. You can have also a late delivery. You can have maintenance. For example, when you have a scheduled maintenance on the airplane, a C check or D check, but you need to continue to fly your schedule, then you need also to go and take an aircraft for a short period in order to cover your schedule and not to disrupt your operation. Or when you want to test new routes, for example, you have a special project, or when you need to fill some gaps in your own operation, for example. Also, just another example is you want to start a new 1 or 2 new routes, you want to test it, but you don't have the airplane. So why you should block a lot of money to pay security deposits and to, let's say, 3 or 4 monthly rentals and take an airplane on a 5-6 years dry lease, when you can ACMI lease an airplane for 3, 4, 5, 6 months and just see and test this new routing, this new route. Will it be okay? And if it's okay, then you can always evaluate and take an own airplane. But for example, this is also quite often seen that airlines are taking additional capacity just to open new routes and to test new markets. This is also quite popular. So not only the busy holiday season. So as I said, rather than purchase new aircraft or going out to the market, which will take time and investment, because for a dry lease you need to block a certain amount of money. Usually lessors are asking 3 to 4 months of security deposits, and so you need to block, let's say, if an aircraft is 250,000, let's say, just a rough number, 320 or 7800, 737-800, so you need to block minimum 750,000, then the first month of dry lease, so you need more than 1 million just to take the aircraft. Then you need to paint it, you need to put your stickers, you need to put it into your AOC, which is again time. It's a big investment. You need to take care about the maintenance contract. You need to take care about spare parts, all this kind of stuff. So less headache. You just take an airplane on ACMI, because in this case, the lessor who is giving you the airplane with the aircraft crew and maintenance covered, they need to pay for all these services. They need to pay the crews. They need to pay the salaries. They need to pay for the maintenance, for the spare parts. And of course for the insurance, which is also not a small amount of money these days, because the insurances went up with all these beautiful things which are happening in Europe and in the world. So insurances are now a very different scenario than they were before. Also at the heart of this model is of course the flexibility. So airlines can respond to immediate needs without overextending their resources, which is a huge advantage in a high stakes, ever-changing industry like aviation. So it really gives you a lot of flexibility, and honestly I don't know any operator in Europe which has not fallen back to ACMI. So even Lufthansa took on ACMI, Austrian, here Turkish Airlines, they have a lot of ACMIs. They have more than 20 airplanes. Their sister company AJet, Anadolu Jet, they have more than 20 airplanes on ACMI, for example, from Smart Links on a long-term deal. Also, TUI Group always wet leases in additional capacity. TUI Fly, UK, Jet2 in the UK. Typical holiday operators, all these charter operators, they are always taking in additional capacity. Also, scheduled carriers, as I told you, they are checking new markets, and then they don't want to risk all this money and take airplanes. And if they need to close the routes again, what they have to do with the airplane? They need to continue to pay the dry lease. They need to continue to pay the insurance, the maintenance reserves, and you end up with the bill is on you. So if you have ACMI, you have the flexibility. You take the airplane for 3 months, 4 months. You just pay 3-4 months. If you are okay, you continue. You consider to take your own aircraft. If it's not the right choice for you, then you just stop it after the ACMI contract expires. You are free. You don't have the asset on your back. So that's the biggest advantage which I'm seeing here, of course. So, lessons in business and resilience from ACMI wet leasing. Now let's take a step back. While ACMI leasing is a fascinating concept of the aviation industry, the business lessons it offers to all of us are just as powerful. Think about it. Wet leasing requires a lot of cooperation, adaptability and resilience. Things we all need in every type of business, no matter what industry we are in. In business there will always be challenges, just like in the aviation industry. No question about it. Things don't always go as planned. Most definitely, just think about back in 2020 with the COVID-19. You might experience sudden disruptions, unexpected setbacks, or the need for rapid pivots. The airlines that successfully operate under an ACMI agreement or ACMI model are the ones that understand the importance of flexibility and not giving up when things get tough. I've seen companies, for example, hit major roadblocks, whether it's a supply chain issue, for example, as I told you before, late delivery, a market downturn, or a key partnership falling through. It's very frustrating, believe me. I know what I'm talking about, but what separates those who succeed from those who don't is the ability to adapt, quick decisions, to learn from those challenges and to keep moving forward. Most definitely, again, flexibility, it gives you a lot of flexibility. I've seen really many disruptions, key partnerships falling through. It's very frustrating, but it's always good when you can go back and solve your problem and just have the right solution on the table so you can continue to work. And again, in every type of business, believe me, cooperation, adaptability and resilience, no way to be without it. So overcoming setbacks, lessons from ACMI wet leasing. From my point of view, let's say you are running a business and things aren't going your way. You might feel tempted to throw in the towel, of course, just like an airline might if their leasing deal falls through. But here's where the power of ACMI wet leasing comes in. ACMI wet leasing is about understanding that failure doesn't mean the end. if one flight plan doesn't work, you reroute and keep going. Just keep moving. In the same way, if a business plan doesn't succeed, take those lessons, reevaluate, and pivot. You don't have to give up. You just have to find another way. So never give up. Just think about it. Take another solution. Find the right way and go for it. Don't think about it. Really, go for it. If it's the right decision, that's the only way to move forward. It's about knowing that every setback teaches you something, guys. Something new. The successful business owners are the ones who take those lessons, like me. I've seen a lot of these things I told you, and I've turned many of them into action and come back stronger. So really, in these 25 years of history and experience, I've seen many things and have worked with many airlines, and believe me, I have experienced many problems, but we have always found a solution. So never give up. That's my advice to you. Why resilience is key in business, I will tell you. At the end of the day, resilience is the core lesson we can all learn from ACMI wet leasing. In business, as in aviation, the sky is the limit, literally. But only if you're willing to keep flying and to keep moving, even when things get rough. Resilience is about being prepared for any kind of turbulence. It's about knowing that no matter how hard the journey gets, believe me, you can always reroute, adjust, and keep your eyes on the destination. And trust me, the destination is always worth it. I've been on the ground zero, and I've also had moments where we are flying high. So thanks God, I'm flying high. But believe me, I have in these 25 years, I have souvenirs from everywhere. I have been ground zero, really, and I've also been on the top. So I've seen everything, and that's why I exactly know what I'm talking about it. So whether you are in aviation or running a business in any field, the principles of ACMI wet leasing can teach us valuable lessons about, first, flexibility, second, partnerships and resilience. And the biggest lesson of all, don't give up. Never. Learn from your experience, adapt, and keep pushing forward. Believe me. So, if you found this video helpful or interesting, let me know in the comments, please. What lessons, also tell me please, what lessons have you learned from your own business setbacks? Tell me about it. I'm really curious to hear your stories. Don't forget also to like, to subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more content on business strategies and success stories. Thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next video again.